And there you are.
There you go. So Jane, we might have to be sharing the recording because a lot of people are in the holidays. Still, it's a tough month, as you know.
But we're glad to have you.
Yeah, thanks
Yes.
for having me.
So what's happening at the is this part of the West Side group that you're working together with?
Yeah, so the West Side Cultural Network it has its origins. We started back in 2019, and the network started off as an informal meeting series of representatives from nonprofit cultural institutions along the West Side, kind of centered around Meatpacking District, going a little further south in the Whitney and up into CB4's turf, headed up towards the Shed. We formed kind of working through the networks that we already had. So I was having one-off conversations with my colleagues at the Highline or at Hudson River Park about what's going on at our institutions. And I didn't introduce myself. I'm Jane Carey from the Whitney Museum of American Art. And we thought it would make sense for us just to be in dialogue, at least to know what's going on at each other's institution, and that we might uncover some opportunities for to collaborate. And since that conversation series got started and anchored and continued through the difficult years of the pandemic, our commitment to collaborating has only kind of deepened. And I think it was maybe 2 years or so ago, I don't remember exactly, that we came to this committee to share who we were and what we were trying to do together. And I remember one of the pieces of advice from the committee is different groups that we should be engaging with, like Westbeth, which we're thrilled. I'm thrilled to share has joined the network and is partnering on presenting something for West Side Fest. So the early things that we did to collaborate were presentations to our local community boards. So we can also hear from folks that are in the neighborhood about what we should be, with advice on things that we should be focusing on with our work. And also events for our own colleagues. We had an early career networker on Zoom when everything was still on Zoom, so we could link up people that were maybe just a few years into their careers at arts organizations to meet their colleagues at other ones, because we found that it's important for us to do our community focused work, ensuring that our colleagues have a connection and are excited about and investing further in the neighborhood felt important. So we've just seen so much growth in the cultural sector in the last 10 years or so here on the West Side. Of course, this is a long time cultural community. CB2 knows that probably better than anybody, any organization. And with organizations like Westbeth, who were founded in 1970, and White Columns, one of our members, also founded in 1970, we know and appreciate the long roots that this community has as a hub for culture and artists even who have lived here over the years. But recently, with the growth of organizations like establishment of organizations like Little Island or The Shed or Poster House, or even the Whitney's return downtown in 2015, there's just been a lot more culture on the West Side, and we wanted to come together to celebrate that, to make sure that folks that live in the neighborhoods that we're situated in are aware of all the ways that we try to make our institutions accessible, and also just our missions, and encourage them to engage more with our organizations, and also to look beyond for New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, reintroducing them to our West Side community as one of our city's newest cultural communities and destinations. So that's how the idea of West Side Fest came together. And we were absolutely inspired by Museum Mile Uptown, which I got to visit this June. This year was their 40th anniversary. And the story of Museum Miles is so remarkable. And I think Mayor LaGuardia had a big role in creating that event 40 years ago, at a moment where the city was looking to celebrate things that make it so unique, to help it pull itself out of the troubles it was facing in the late 70s. I think that's another reason why now is a great time for us to come together and celebrate arts and culture on the West Side. Our community has, like every community in New York, is special and has something unique to offer, but we have a lot of open space. We have parks that are part of our network. We have pedestrian plazas and low-slung buildings, and that a community that offers a real connectedness to the neighborhood itself. And we wanted to introduce ourselves again to New Yorkers and welcome those that visit us often to come back and check out what we have to offer. So since we made the decision to try to do a joint public event, that we made that decision back in February, we've been every organization's been, we've asked to raise their hands if they can volunteer time and effort to plan this event, and really grateful to colleagues at Poster House and the Shed, the High Line and Hudson River Park, who've donated a lot of time to thinking through what an event like this could be like. And since we've been working on planning out this day-long event that's, except for one thing, all free for New Yorkers, we've had a number of cultural institutions also join our collaboration. So I think we're over 20 organizations now, and we had to set some criteria for membership in the network. It was a little loose earlier because we were figuring out who we were and what we could do together. So the geographic boundaries for 2023 was 34th Street to the north, 6th Avenue, and then Canal, but West Beth right now is our most southern cultural organization. And we've asked that it be limited, membership be limited to nonprofit cultural organizations as well. And for this inaugural event, we asked it to be kind of like we wanted it to be a choose your own adventure experience for visitors that do come out, with a variety of offers for people of all ages, and look to culturals to decide what they felt like they wanted or could offer to the day. We are many different organizations of varying sizes, and we try to be respectful of that and take a rising tide lifts all boats approach and include everybody equally in how we promote things, and how I think folks are listed alphabetically in all promotional materials on our website. So we hope that this event will be something that can help all the member organizations and connect to new audiences across New York. That was probably more than you wanted to know. This has been my passion project, so I'm very in the weeds on all of it. It can be hard for me to get out of them when I'm talking about it.
Do you have a link to the event for the chat?
Yes, absolutely. So
People can get the tickets, or they're free.
yeah, I had it open, prepared for this. Now I lost it.
I have like 10 different documents open.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We made our own website, westsidefest.nyc. We picked the .nyc to reinforce that goal of connecting with New Yorkers.
Mhm.
We're grateful to have received support from some businesses to help make this all come together, because we are nonprofits. And Wix Playground, a tech company that's based across from the street from the Whitney, has donated the website, and worked with Collins PR, who's donated the design material for us that they said was inspired by the West Side's cobblestone streets. So special tie-in here to the village. And this website has information about the full schedule of events happening this Saturday, highlighting the things that are all day long. West Side Fest runs roughly from about 10:30 in the morning to about 7 at night.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's a lot. We do
There
a lot.
is and there's something also happened at the 8th Memorial too. Is that in there?
Yeah, Dave Harper joined our group over the summer, and there's a special.
This Nick is going to be having a piece there that looks really interesting too.
Yep, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, that's going to be like, I was thinking, how do you do all this? This is great. This site.
Oh, thanks.
Wow, that's great. Thank you. Oops.
Yeah.
So this is going to consider the first year you're doing that?
Yeah, it's our inaugural year event. We are already talking about what 2024 and beyond could look like. We had a lot of learnings this year on how to produce something like this, and we have a plan to regroup after the event and collect all of those things and put it into something that would be useful for us. So we have developed a survey for West Side Fest guests that we we'll hopefully we'll share at activation sites if host organizations are willing to set it out. And with this website, we were able to collect over 1,000 email addresses for folks that were interested in receiving updates on it. So we're looking forward to sending the survey to them as well. We're trying to think about everything that we need to, so we don't miss an opportunity to learn more about our visitors, what things resonated with them, what worked, what didn't. But we hope it's something that we can continue to do.
So it's almost like, you know, I feel like I can see how tired you are. It's kind of like, no, it's just like, I feel like it is the passion project that's come into reality, because it's in a couple of days, and unlike a piece that you're just doing for this week, is you have a vision of all these people, all these organizations for another year down the line. That's amazing. Well, congratulations. I'll be there.
Awesome. Thank you, Ivy. I was talking with my family about how to track what our path is going to be too. We have 2 young kids, so I was thinking the West Beth Puppet Show, and I've never hit the Submerge Marine Science Festival for Hudson River Park, but that seems really exciting. And then if you're a teen or an adult, the dance party at the Shed and some of the other activations at organizations like CARA on 13th Street, I think could be really interesting too. So hopefully it does provide something for everybody. I think one of the things that I hoped we could have pushed further into is just getting the word out there. I've printed postcards and posters and things like that, but yeah, it takes a lot of work to get those things across the neighborhood. So we've been grateful for member organizations to spread the word using their e-newsletter platforms and social, and we have some community groups that have helped to spread awareness through their network. But it would be great in the future. Maybe there's a way we can collaborate, or at least take guidance from you all, since you're more on the ground with the neighborhoods that you're a part of what community centers and organizations are important to engage, both for inclusion in this event in the network and also for spreading the word too.
So where are the physical cards right now? At the Whitney?
Well, I do have about 1,000 on my desk next to me, so I can drop them off if anybody knows.
No, maybe I can pick it up, because because I'm near the storefront here, so we're not in exactly the space you're covering, but there's a lot of small galleries, and because it's kind of like it's like a fair, right? So it's amazing. So thank you for doing this, and it's great to have seen you come together in the 2 years and formulate this project. That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
It's a great way to come back to a city also for a lot of families.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why we picked September too, is many of us who are organizing this are New Yorkers, and not everybody has small kids. We're in different parts of our lives, but we know that this is a time of year where people are coming back and getting settled back in, and it felt like if we are going to pick a time of year to engage New Yorkers, this would be a good one. You know, there's all kinds of important events that happen in early fall for us to be mindful of with scheduling. So we're not sure that we can say with the same certainty that Museum Mile, it's always the second Tuesday of every June. But I think we're looking forward to still hosting something in the fall as a back to New York moment for our neighbors.
Well, thank you so much, and it's congratulations. It's really wonderful. I mean,
thank you for having me. It's great to be able to talk about this with you, and would love to continue the dialogue with the committee and take any ideas and feedback you may have for us on this event or just the network in general. As we really would like to deepen our ties to the community. That's one of the top line goals for us. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for sending it to your network too. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I'll see you, I'll see the project on Saturday. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. You can stay if you want. I mean, we're not allowed today. So we're just...
Okay, I'm going to stuff bags.
Okay,
for the event.
thank you.
Yeah, and I'll
Good
drop
luck.
my information in the chat in case anybody has any questions down the road.
Okay, thank you. Put it in here. Oh, the e-blast. You know, hey, Mark, I don't even know if I get the e-blast.
Well, there's a button on the website, but I'll make a note and make sure that you're at it.
Hi, who's the other person in the,
I don't know. You arrived when I was out of the room. Can you introduce yourself? That's you.
Oh, me?
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, yeah. So I'm Rachel. I'm from like the new school, so I'm student. This week, one of my assignments to go to one of the community board to learn about this.
Well,
hey, Mark, are we supposed to take notes on their names to put in the notes or not?
I have a sign-in sheet and both of our guests have been kind enough
Okay.
to sign it. I wasn't actually planning on having an in-person meeting because I thought you're all going to be virtual. So it's nice to have company.
It's a tough time. Like we said, it's, when people come back, and it's a very busy week for everybody. Hi, Rocio.
Hello, how are you?
You just missed Jane.
No, I didn't. I've been here all the time.
Oh, I didn't see the tab. I have anything wrong.
I started at 6:30 at 6:31.
I just see, sorry.
Before she started speaking, I was here.
Isn't that exciting? What's going on? Oh my God.
Yes, I know. I think that our committee had requested that Whitney reach out to many other nonprofits that specialize in the arts. And I think that might have been one of the reasons that they decided to venture into this new platform, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, you heard the part that it's an initiative to be a yearly event. So
Yes.
That's exciting. One of the things we down the line have to address is our calendar and also like when these events come into our group, how we can share back out beyond the e-blast. I think we've been talking about that for some time. If anybody has ideas on how to share all this, initiatives, all these projects that are community based, would be great. Hi, Jonathan. No, don't be sorry. Happy to see you.
I don't usually mess up like this.
No, not at all. So I had to send out, the following next calendar because I think like during the summer we since we didn't meet, we try to like having Jane, like we had different schedules and to fit in the calendar, and I'm glad we were able to do it before the event that's happening on Saturday. So thank you for everybody coming into kind of like a very last minute meeting, but yet a great meeting to know of the project that they're doing for Saturday. So in the email I had sent the following couple months of options, if people can look at that, since we're such a small group and we need to make quorum, how to achieve that and how we want to keep on shaping different transitions. We transition from arts and institution to culture, and from what's it called, committee to a working group, and what that means and how we want to shape that. So we'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think? We have 2 people in the office with Mark that are both in different schools that I guess the angle is like, besides their assignment, is about how community comes together to organize, which is exciting.
So I guess what I would ask is why is there a movement to make this a working group? What's the difference? I don't know the difference.
You're so lucky. The person that really knows how to execute this is Susan. Susan's here. Thank you, Susan, for joining us.
Hi, everyone, and good to be here. Sorry I was late. I had another meeting that I came from. There is the designation of as a working group versus a standing committee. There's no difference in terms of how you've been functioning. What this is since you're not a standing committee, you don't have an obligation to meet every month. You meet based on how you develop your agenda. I've been working sort of on a philosophy that standing committees really deal with the core responsibilities of the board in terms of what we are mandated to do versus what we choose to do. This is something we choose to do, and therefore you shouldn't be restricted in having to follow the same type of rigid schedule that, say, a committee that receives applications does. You do it based on how you develop your agenda, which is a level of freedom. It's also a level of responsibility, because that means that if you don't put together an agenda, you're not going to have a space on the calendar. It does mean that I would also say that I know you're a very small group. I really want to get more people onto this. This is, but arts and culture as a working group, it's a question of being, choosing to be on it. It's not something that I'm just going to automatically assign the way people have an obligation to be on at least 2 standing committees. So it is a question of, I'd like to reach out to all, not just our new board members, but all our board members. This is, it's a great group and it does something important. And I would like to see people, joining, having board members on here doesn't just merely increase the numbers, but what it does is it actually makes it possible to have you, Stacy, and you, Jonathan, both as public members. Right now, what you have is officially a membership of 4. According to our bylaws, we have to have fewer than 50%. The public members must represent fewer than 50% the number of full board members. So if you're only 4, right now we can only have 1. If we're able to get even 1 more board member to join, then I can have 2. And that's how that's simply a function of how our board is structured. I should point out, and I've been discussing this with Ivy, it's not clear to me that either of you are actually active public members, because the office has not been able to find your applications for the 2023 year. I'm sorry.
Mine, including mine?
No. You're an appointed board member. You're in a different category. Public members are not appointed in the way regular board members like Ivy and myself are appointed either by the borough president's office. You are appointed by CB2, which means that you have to follow our schedule, which is an annual application process, and it's a process that follows the calendar year. So if you want to be a public member for 2024, you have to fill out an application at the end of 2023, and if you join at some point during 2023, you are a member for the remainder of that year. But if you have applied in the past and you haven't reapplied specifically for 2023, you're not an active member. technically, you know, in terms of your participation, it has not any impact in terms of your participation. But it does mean that you're not able to vote should there be a resolution that Ivy presents for a vote. So that's sort of like the whole rundown. Just to mention quickly in terms of the quorum, which does not apply to public members, only board members apply, can account towards quorum. You do need a majority. So actually you would need 3 out of the 4 board members to be either physically present or have a qualifying disability that allows them to be online. So for example, so tonight, I know you had difficulty. This is a meeting. It's not an official, you know, nothing that came out of this committee in terms of like a resolution could be presented as a working group meeting, as a working group resolution. But, you know, based on your actual activity, that probably from a practical perspective doesn't matter. So hopefully I clarified some things.
I saw that Mark added the application in the chat. Is there a way that we could just like shorten it so that the 2 current public members could just send an email to Ivy like, this is my application, then just get it done because they've already been members the whole year?
Well, the thing is, since we only have 4 members, you have to have fewer than 50%. I only can accept 1 actually right now.
So then
that's why if we can get even one more board member to join, then the second person can also fill out. Just so everybody knows, on our website, on the front page, on the main page at the bottom, there's a link. So if you want that, if you're looking for it in the future, or you want somebody else is looking for it, it's just at the bottom of the main page. But we do need that. That's part of our record keeping too.
So we need somebody that is in the board to join here.
If you can invite, and I see board members online right now, you know.
Shauna Carter.
Or somebody, you know, look,
It's
not fair to put them on the spot, but for example, you know, we can certainly reach, you know, one of the great things about a group like this is that it doesn't have the same, you know, it doesn't have this, it doesn't make the same demands that some of the other, you know, committees make. So it's like, yeah, join, because it's important, and it is, you know, it does reflect you know, an important aspect of our community, and its interests. So if you get 1 more, then both of these people, who I'm sure would like to be current members, can reapply.
So, okay, not everybody fight. Well, you know, it would be great if somebody can, I mean, I also need to find out who are the new members.
I am happy to introduce you to the new members. I can certainly,
That have an
you know,
interest in art.
share you know, I don't know if I still have any biographical information on them, but I can share with you something that, you know, I know about them. You know, hopefully we're, you know, at the end of the year, we also have a holiday get together, and that would be a great opportunity for you to meet them in person. Let's see, I know at last week's meeting, I don't think they were all there, but I think at least 2 of them were there.
Like, you know, in any of the bios that cross over their interests, obviously, like in arts and culture.
I don't remember if they have backgrounds in it, but you know, the thing about arts and culture is it doesn't necessarily appear on people's resumes. Just because it's not something people do professionally doesn't mean it isn't something that they care about in their personal capacity.
Right. So that's,
so
Chris, are you gonna apply? Because
I mean, you know, something I have the right to appoint. That's a good question. Do I have the right to appoint myself? I guess I have the right to appoint myself as a committee member. I don't think, I've never seen any reason not to. I can certainly do that if that will help you.
Could it be
I don't
also
want to see you lose your public members, obviously.
couldn't it also be as simple as just having Mark send out an email like we're looking for an additional member?
Oh, absolutely. That goes without saying. That goes without saying. And in fact, just getting one more is really not enough. I would love to see, you know, you get 2 or 3 or 4 more members, because it, you know, look, it makes it more vibrant and it brings in new ideas. And, you know, there are other, you know, instead of it being driven by just, you know, what Ivy's coming up with, you know, I think that's what you hope from any committee, is that it attracts people who are bringing ideas, bringing potential agenda items, you know, for the group to consider. So, but by all means, yes, Chris, you're absolutely right. We are, that is on my list of things that we need to do, is send out, you know, an email of interest. Yeah, certainly we want to build this up. So, anybody has questions on this, you know, by all means, you know, you can reach out to the office, you can reach out to me. Yeah, but you know, this happens to a lot of, this happens to committees all the time. They lose people, they're particularly low, and then we find ways, we repopulate them. Yes, Jonathan.
Who are the public members now?
Well, that's what I was saying, is that since the office has not been able to locate an application for the 2023 year for any public members for this group, there officially are no active public members.
Yeah, I don't think I knew. In fact, I know I didn't know that I needed to redo it for the calendar year.
It's not you. Practically nobody knows it. It was something that, look, I used to chair the bylaws working group. That's how come I know this stuff. It's arcane stuff. But since I became chair, I've had 3 people become public members on other committees. And that's what sort of triggered caused me to question, gee, what about all the other public members? Are they up to date?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what it's not just this group. It's like I've been bringing it to the attention of all the chairs.
Right.
I know we have that problem with applications. I'm wondering who the supposed public members are. I see Stacy must be one, and I'm one.
Jonathan, you and Stacy are who is listed on our website as public members.
What about Kristen Martin?
She is also listed.
So she makes 3. You know, I read somewhere that she was stepping down as the head of her arts organization. Yeah. I'm wondering what her plans were, and if she would want to stay on. I mean, she's a very valuable person to have.
Yeah.
Does anybody know anything?
She today she couldn't attend because she's traveling, but she was involved about getting Jane here today, for example. Yeah. So she's been working on this for the last 2 months, because you know the county.
So that means there's at least 3, not 2.
Yeah, we'll try to beg for her not to leave. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, by all means, I mean, that's a great example of somebody you wouldn't want to lose. I mean, technically speaking, for all 3 of you to remain as public members,
don't leave me.
You would to be listed as public members, you would need 7 board members on this working group.
Yeah, and then so Stacy, will you please apply? Jonathan, I guess.
Oh, certainly. I'll do it when we finish this meeting.
And Chris, everybody is here. I mean, so we kind of have to get together and also see what the group wants to work on, based on, you know, this new.
Actually, I have a project for you.
Yeah.
And this actually relates to the community amenity space in the new Paulson Center, NYU's building.
Mm-hmm.
There is a space that was it's dedicated for community use.
Mhm.
And the goal is to get a local nonprofit, ideally of an arts / cultural / educational nature, into that space. It's not large. It's only 750 square feet, but it is supposed to be, it's supposed to be very affordable. So it will be whatever the rent, the goal is whatever the rent will be based on your actual ability to pay. If
That
we,
was brought up last year. Is that like it has like a term limit of how long the lease will be, right?
I can get you more information on that. I don't know exactly how long that will be. I can certainly find that out. But it's not only is it, a space that is designed to be affordable for a nonprofit group, but if we do not, there at some point, if we cannot find a tenant for that, the space will revert to NYU.
Yes, I do remember that.
So I'm putting this out there. I mean, we've put this in email blasts. I know NYU also periodically sends out reminders, but it would be if any of you know people who might have an interest in it, or people who know people who might have an interest in it.
Well, have we talked to let the local nonprofit organizations like the New Museum or the Drawing Center about whether they would program that space?
Well, that's just it. It might be a good space for programming from a group that doesn't have its main site there. I don't want to tell you anything that restricts the possibilities. Right. The only restriction is the fact that you've got a certain amount of space to work with.
Mm-hmm.
But
so,
that might be an idea, is that you have a larger organization, a nonprofit, that could use that to provide a certain type of cultural artistic activity for the community.
That's a model that has been used many times and is very effective, because it can often be part of something. For example, if the Drawing Center is doing an exhibition on something, they could install pieces or a piece. It would have to, there's more that goes into that because there's security and insurance and things like that. But that's also usually why it is helpful to have a larger nonprofit who have that built into already their kind of operating program and knows how to do it. But it would be great. I didn't know about that. It would be great to see that information. But I imagine that there would be local nonprofits. And when I say local, I think it'd be great to have somebody who within walking distance. So that could be part of, you go to the New Museum and then you walk over to see whatever's installed there. It also, the way that one would pitch it to one of those nonprofits is it's a marketing tool for them in a way as well, right? So you draw people, students, locals in to see that space, and then they go to visit the larger institution as well.
Can we get the documents of that? Because that was a multiple meetings last year about that space.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know where it ended up, and I think we should put it back on the table, because at one point they had said they were still working on how long the lease would be.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing, whether it needed to be a performance space versus
it's, to my knowledge, it does not have to be a performance space, but it should be a space that engages the community.
Yeah.
That, it's not designed to be a space where you put, administrative activities type thing for the nonprofit.
So,
it should be a space that's actively engaging the community.
So does the office have like the whatever NYU or us putting out of what that we're searching? The write-up, sorry.
The write-up, yeah.
So
there are definite links that will take you to all of that material. I know NYU has. We've had the links. We can certainly get you those links so that you can do further investigation, and we can certainly, partner with any groups that are interested to help, advocate for them if it sounds like they might be, facing some hurdles, if their ideas have merit. The goal is to get them in there.
If I could excuse myself, the e-blast at the bottom under points of interest includes the blurb and a link to exactly what Susan's talking about.
Yeah, Carter just posted it in the chat.
Oh, good, okay.
It's like now I'm remembering last year.
Right.
It was a little like overwhelming. Yeah, 180 nurses. So that's something we can pick up. We did last year. We did. I didn't particularly do the tour, but Janine took a couple people in the tour of the space as the many meetings that they had about this.
I mean, if anybody wants to see that space, I'm
Yeah.
sure we could arrange something to come by and take a look at it. It doesn't take very long to see it. But you can see the nature of it and how the entrance, and they did promise, for example, that they would provide signage so that when you have a group in there, they will be identified, because otherwise the facade of the building is just like glass. But if people are interested, whether you're coming on your own, just like this group, or you have potential tenants that are interested, by all means, we can arrange something and pay a quick visit.
Okay. So the other thing that we have been working loosely on and off was somehow creating a way of amplifying the different events and projects that people come to this group to present. So like tonight we have this thing that Jane is doing. So besides us sharing in our channel or our e-blast, what else can we do? I know that we had tried to push a little bit about having social media presence besides and I think like we should continue to push that. Or something we want to achieve. I think like there's a lot of conversations in terms of like how content gets shared and whether we should have like an Instagram. And that's I know that's a larger discussion, but I just want to know like how do we do a next step for this?
Well, I would say, Ivy, to the extent that we have existing accounts on social media, we can use them to amplify the fact that we are having certain events, that we want to encourage people to attend our events. That is the function of our social media activity, is to drive people to our meetings, to our events. We have limited capacity in terms of, because we don't have the staff to manage social media accounts the way a commercial activity has people dedicated to that. So it becomes difficult to add new channels of information. If we don't have an Instagram account, I don't know how realistic it is to add one if we can't adequately manage it to utilize it to its potential. Sometimes it's simply about, sometimes it's not about sharing it directly from us. It may be about sharing it specifically with other organizations that will then share it, going that way, who then amplify what we're doing.
A simple example from tonight alone could be just posting exactly what was presented to us as an event that's upcoming with an image from the Whitney and then the dates as the caption. It doesn't have to be this complicated. We can just put it right onto CB2. Like there might not even have to be the arts and culture Instagram account or Twitter, TikTok, whatever it is. Like simple is very easy, especially considering there's not a lot of staff. So it can be done. We can just send those suggestions to whoever's actually running the account.
Well, that's it, in the sense of if we had an event, we had somebody appearing this evening, yes, on Twitter, we could have tweeted out, don't forget, tonight we're having, Jane is coming and from the Whitney, and that's exactly what our communications policies actually advocate for, is that our social media is used to amplify.
Well, so taking that as an example, who would have tweeted that tonight? Mark?
I mean, a Mark who's responsible in the office for somebody in the office would have done it.
So the thing, so I think that's also the challenge, while going through the channels through Mark. If I think we had conversations whether, because we did a small test of having this group, or back then it was institutions as well, whether we could be allowed to have an Instagram thing where we would just upload, let's say, Jane's event there. But then it seemed like there had to be a conversation about the umbrella being under CB2.
Yeah, there's no, committees do not, and working groups do not have separate accounts. We have one official account, and that is managed by our office. And that is, you know, it's simply, it's what our policies, you know, how the policies that were approved by the board require. The fact, you know, it's, I know it's tempting to say, oh, I could do more with it, but in terms of, we need to have accountability. And as a result, we have to run things through the office.
So tonight's, like, would play out by sending stuff to Mark.
Right.
And then do it. Okay.
If you had sent him something even yesterday, for example, he could have tweeted it out, whether yesterday, today, you know, that certainly is a possibility.
So we have Twitter. Do we have Instagram?
I don't know that we have Instagram. No, we don't have Instagram. We
So
have Facebook.
be
We also have Facebook.
okay. Yeah. So if we wanted to have a discussion about having a platform for CB2 as an Instagram, we would have to propose it to the larger board? I mean, there's a lot of issues about being in Twitter at this moment in history as well.
Understood.
So we just would like to bypass that, and Facebook is just a little static in terms of, and yeah,
look, it's let's, you know, something we could ultimately, it's not something, you know, I think it's probably something I would approve. I certainly would want to consult the executive committee on this. It's not something that I would do solo. Let's talk, we should talk about it in terms of what you think the potential benefit is, and what do we think that the, you know, the added responsibilities are. Do we have the ability to manage this as well? You know, we can't take on something if we don't think we can execute.
So, like, just to continue that specific conversation. So if we have a Twitter account, if it's a one button through all the medias all at the same time, that would make it easy. What that helps us is, for example, a couple meetings ago, we had kind of a group like Jane's group that came together that are planning to do install sculptures into Washington Square in conjunction with the park department. What it would help them and also the community is that they're looking for people to apply to put sculptures in there. And the reason it's taking a long time is because we're not in the page of helping people to communicate that across the board. So in this case, parks will benefit, community artists will benefit in knowing how to apply, because sculptures in the park based on climate is a whole different thing to execute. So that would help us. That would help the whole community to say, wow, you know, we can put sculptures in Washington Square.
No question,
So
there's no question about the benefit of that art or the value of it. It's a question of communication. So it's also not just, you know, there's what we can do. What kind of, you know, promotion is the Parks Department doing? They have a much bigger budget than we do. What are they doing to do it? Are there other groups that, you know, might be interested in promoting it because they advocate for artists? And it's like, you know, artists, there's an opportunity out here.
Right.
So
So we
sometimes
had,
it's not about what we send out is one thing. What we can get to other groups that then have those channels is maybe where you're really going to see a bigger impact.
well, in that meeting, we have the Parks Department, and the reason, you know, they whatever their trajectory, it was kind of stagnant. So for us, it would be the same way as we would be tweeting today about, hey, we're looking for tenants, our nonprofit at Paulson. Go here to apply. That's the only thing it would be.
Right.
Because we are not directing who gets the thing, but we're just saying, hey, you know, there's this opportunity, otherwise this rental space will be gone. You're a sculptor, this is happening, you know, we're in the nose as well, please apply. So
Right.
I think that would be a great thing for us to have that dynamic. And
Right.
it's nothing more than that.
Yeah.
So Mark, we'll circle. So that's, yeah, so that's great to have talked about that.
I mean,
It's,
this
I
is
also,
actually another reason why if we can get more people on this, you know, as members of this group, their connections are connections. And that's how we get the news out there.
I just wanted to point out too that there's some overcomplication about some of this stuff. Like social media we should sort of just have some of the stuff if the conversation is truly about getting the information out, especially considering that like not everybody subscribes to all this stuff. Like Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. We also have threads. There are simple things that can be done, especially for Instagram too, because a lot of people do still spend a lot of time on Instagram. Just a picture of the park for the example that we specifically just talked about for Washington Square Park stuff. We're trying to put a statue here. We're not asking people to go shoot pictures or take, you know, do CAD mock-ups of their sculptures. Just here's where we think it could go. They need applicants, try this link. Like some of this stuff should just sort of exist for the sake of existing. You walk into like a doctor's office, they try to tell you to follow them on Instagram. It's simple stuff that we probably should have just for the sake of having another venue for people to find out what's going on in their own neighborhood. It's not necessarily a thing that the arts and culture working group has to have as much as just simple stuff. We should be able to tell the office, here's 5 words about what's going on at the Whitney this weekend. Here's a picture of the Whitney.
We don't automatically promote even other community groups in the sense that the point of our use of the media is to get them to our specific activities. But you know, Carter, I know has some insights into this, so I know I don't want to take over Ivy's role, but he's got his hand up, so I want to yield the floor to him.
Hey, Carter.
Hey guys, thanks. I just wanted to point out this stuff goes out in our monthly emails all the time. Ivy, if you haven't been getting them, you don't see that. But just to Susan's point, we can't communicate everybody else's activities because our job is to communicate our activities. People come to us, you know, the Whitney has thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of people on their media channels for outreach. And Chris, I don't know why you're rolling your eyes, but you know,
I'll tell
we
you.
just simply, we just simply get out our meetings. And this has always been an issue with the board's emails of, do we complicate them with listing everybody else's activities over ours when we are trying to get people to come into a very specific realm to comment on issues which are public hearings and public meetings, as at the expense of diluting through to all of the other areas. And this is the challenge, right? And one of the things that we could do, and this is a different discussion, is have separate emails for that, but it gets to a point with everything of too much information. And the core of what we do is what we do at the board level. And you can't dilute the messaging from us at the expense of our own getting the word out about our meetings. And this is the challenge. It's not to diminish anybody else. It's not to say that these events aren't important, But this is why it's so important to have local newspapers, local blogs, all these other channels which have that component of getting the word out. And just as much as they should be covering our meetings and our activities, and they do to some extent, but this, goes into the responsibility of a larger community in the different realm. The matter comes down to people are overloaded. Us setting out more information doesn't help with people. Then they start reading our stuff. We have this problem every month. I didn't hear about it. I didn't know about it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a big challenge. And it doesn't, again, it's not diminishing these activities. It's a question of each group and each area all maintain their own outputs for this. And if you look at, for the West Side Fest, for example, at all the institutions together collectively probably reach an audience that's 100 to 1,000 times more than we even can reach collectively in all of those organizations. So I think that that's something people need to keep in mind, that we have to get people to our own meetings. And that's something we spent a lot of time discussing with the social media policy. It's not to diminish anybody else. It's just that we have our own meetings to worry about getting people to, and that's a big challenge.
Social media is free.
Chris?
Fundamentally, the less words we say, the less people will know things. It's just, it's fine. We can do that. We don't have to put out words unless it's into the email. Then it's just like, to a different extent, if people don't show up to this meeting and then we don't tweet or threads, or like all of these meetings end up on YouTube, right?
Yeah, but I honestly, like, I don't know where they are. I can find some of it, but it's
You don't
not
get the emails either. Like we're in this middle ground of like,
So I
there
do
is
ask, like,
information,
where
but
did it
there's not
go?
enough venues.
So I mean, what's that? Sign up for the email. Oh, somebody signed me up. Thank you. No, I just think that while you're right, I think it's more simple. I think, like, the example of the Whitney for what we would send out tonight will be as simple as this event is. But we can't take that example as a blanket thing, because that West Side group also shows that inequality that we don't get, for example, in the eastern side of where CB2 covers all the way, to the smaller galleries. So there's a lot of discussion about that. The project as the sculpture is not a small project that has a lot of groups come together trying to make this with the park. And yet most people in the community have never really heard about that. So they're not the Whitney. But that when that happens, when it becomes a project, is going to be an amazing project and an ongoing project. Because sculptures in parks are a very different involvement for just culturally for everybody in an environment where students are. So the fact that they haven't been able to push in social media for people to apply in 2 years that they've been, and that we don't even share that, is the reason a lot of people don't come to arts and culture, because we're not like the liquor license people that have to weigh in for something that is tangible. We get that, but yet not having any bandwidth to be inclusive in the content in this larger of over information is also I think a misstep, because then is another reason why more people of color are not in CB2, which is a personal goal for me, that I'm still trying to work, that I want more people of color in the communities to be in this space. Not just in this community, not just in arts and culture. So
Well,
that's
a goal for example, if we're talking about trying to get people into that space, that could be a particular goal of this group, is particularly to seek out underrepresented cultural groups as, for you to utilize this space.
Yeah, and with that, But with that, it has to be the, as Chris was saying, is like info out, kind of like back and forth.
We send things out in our blasts. We do send, as I said, it's not that we don't have this, we have certain social media, but because we don't have the ability to spend time on the social media, we have to make choices about what we're going to use it for. And that's the problem, is that, you may be familiar with seeing groups use the social media constantly, but they have people who are dedicated to it. We have people who are dedicated to doing, what we're obligated to do. As it is, we have a hard time getting the things that we are responsible for doing done on time. So it's not a question of, and one thing I have also found is that when we start putting too many things into a blast, we get people glaze over. They stop reading it. It's like an email with too many pieces of information. People are simply not going to do it. It's not to say that we don't want to get this out there, but we have to be strategic in how we get it out there, because simply saying that it's free and available actually doesn't get the message across. It has to be calculated so that that you have a chance of reaching people. But that's why you can't do it constantly, because if you were doing it constantly, people wouldn't be paying attention, and you can't do too much at once. Again, people stop reading it. So that's why we have to be judicious in how we send things out. And sometimes we have to work with other groups to see that, something this will be more effective if it goes through you. If you have this project about the sculpture in parks, accessing the Whitney and using their channels is going to get you, more potential eyes than we could ever offer you. That's why coordinating with your local allies it would be key to success in something like that.
Donna?
Yeah, hi, Ivy. It sounds to me, listening to this, that a lot of what you're talking about is having people be aware of some of the small arts and cultural organizations that are in our district that don't get that kind of recognition often. So what you might want to do, is you're thinking of an agenda item to have a meeting on, is maybe find some cohesive messaging for a topic and bring some of these organizations in, so that people know what they're going to be doing in the next 3 or 4 months or in the next 6 months, to let people help get the word out that way. And then that meeting could be posted on social media. Our social media is supposed to be about the work that we are doing, not about the work that other organizations are doing. So if you put a meeting together, though, with a broad topic like that, that would help get people to the meeting and hear about what some of these places are doing.
That's actually a great idea, because if we send out an invitation to groups and have them come and just do a local presentation, that becomes part of your meeting, which means it goes out on the YouTube. It's now something that's really being broadcast. And this is something you could do quarterly even, it's certainly something that, as a repeating agenda, an element of your agendas, it's time for the spring update. It's time for the autumn update on what's going on. And you simply send this out to as many groups and see who's interested in sharing their information with us at a meeting.
Carter? Or he's just from...
I think his hand was up.
I think it was just from before. Yeah.
So, Rocio, do you have any input now? So before we, just finding the button.
Not really. I think I listened to my fellow board members who spoke, and I agree with all of them, because yeah, we have to get other people involved and other organizations. And I think that if you start getting too much, just like Susan said, people are not going to read a lot of the long emails with too many things in them. So it's a difficult line, and I'm sure that
Well,
if we
in-
bring more board members in, maybe we
But in
can.
that, we kind of know what it looks like where it is now. And, you know,
Mm.
I can't find where the videos are. I just got signed to the email blast. So
Okay.
I just think like maybe we should wiggle and see what opportunities are. And I do have a suggestion how it could be managed, but you know, we can have that in a separate discussion. I mean, by saying that we don't have capacity, and how do we find capacity? You know, whether different groups take turn once a month, a year, to help other groups to update something. Maybe that's the way to do it. I think we just have to find opportunities. Stacy, do you have comments?
No, although I do think that there's a lot of email fatigue, and I think it's interesting that the Whitney, you could tell that she feels like she's had trouble reaching people. And you know, I would have suggested to her, had we had this like this board meeting or this, like that flyers are actually a great way to get to people. But I do think that it seems that it would be that they do have larger bases than we do in terms of promoting things. So I feel like I can see both sides of it.
Here, just a real quick point, because I agree with this a lot, but the whole way that Snapchat works is that all of Snapchat disappears after 24 hours. The stories on Instagram disappear after 24 hours. For people who absorb their social media outside of just an email, social media is an incredible way to have more information, whether you get it from the Whitney or you get it from our social media feeds, whatever they are, whether you're talking about Facebook or YouTube. It's just something that I think we should consider down the road, since I'm very obviously understanding that this is not going to change tonight. Just like when people come to us and they're trying to tell most people online and 2 people in a room that they have an event coming, it's sort of, we're kind of at a loss. Like I obviously have not provided a venue for the Whitney tonight. I'll tell my friends about it, but the 2 people in the room hopefully will also tell their friends. That's all I've got for tonight. Outside of that, I don't know what else to do for the Whitney. I would just hope that it will still be an exciting night.
Mark,
If I could just add one thing to this discussion, because we're talking about what the office can and can't do a little bit. What would make a big difference, I completely defer to the leadership on when it's appropriate to use our social media and for what. So putting that to one side, let's assume we've got a topic that's appropriate for our social media. The difference is that the office is not really going to be able in real time, especially as Chris was observing, these things are so ephemeral, to put together something that's attractive and will catch eyes on Instagram. But some folks in our membership have the ability to create either a flyer or, you know, and there are even different dimensions that are useful for Instagram versus Facebook and so forth. If an approved message could come to the office already formatted, we can get it out for you. I'm sorry, I'm not a graphic designer, and that's a little bit beyond my skills. My son's pretty good at it, but I can't get him on the phone half the time, so that's not going to be the solution. Anyway, I hope we can, you know, there's a bigger question before you get to what I just said, but we can help if we can get to that point. Thanks.
you're muted, Ivy. You're still muted.
Hi. Boy, that is terrible. I wanted to hear from the guests that are in the room, since you know, they're from the community and they're students, and this is a bird's eye view from their end, like what they think. Love to hear from you guys. Sarah, and Rachel.
You wanna go first?
I agree with what Chris is saying about social media. I think it's really important. I think I find out about I think of at least like 60% of the events that I go to, I find out about through social media, and then I get my friends into it. And then the other 40% is word of mouth. And then oftentimes the person who's speaking the word of mouth gets it from social media. So I think that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I just agree with her. I don't have a lot of words to say about this.
And Jonathan? Oh, there's a.
Well, I mean, I think that's actually great insight, because my guess is you are probably largely in their target market. I think it sounds like they have a big market, but I'm sure that they would like young people who are in New York to be there too. Chris, I think your point is also excellent. And you know, I'm not a huge social media user, but I certainly know my children and everybody else in the world is. So I think that, you know, that maybe it really is something. Maybe it's as simple as posting a story of a flyer from the Whitney, right? I mean, there are ways that it probably can be done. So I think that's really good input from our guests. Thank you.
Again, you know, while I don't want to say that my purpose is to have more people in this room, not just in this committee, but in CB2, is that dynamic. So I think we just have to stretch ourselves a little bit. I don't think it's a lot more work. I think it's just maybe just like uploading whatever our guests brought us today. It's not a flyer, but it's just a thing on social. It's nothing. And this is the way people communicate and find out. But yet it's really important to have a presence, because that invites more people to be engaged. It even invites people to understand, like for the different committees, like there's a lot of young people that want to start business, don't know how to apply for a liquor license, and they go, oh, this is the place. Just a mere fact of just knowing how to cross engage.
I don't want to give you the idea that we are against social media or don't believe in using social media. I'm just saying is that our social media is got to be geared around our activities, our events, in their whole range. You know, it's not just this group. It is, you know, the activities of any of our committees or other groups. And yes, there is an appropriate role for social media. And I don't think that some of the committees are maybe making use of it, that they could be, in terms of getting the information out there of what's going on with us. I'm just saying we have to be sensitive to that. There's got to be a boundary, that even though there's something going on that we find appealing and that might somehow relate back to us, it's not something that's actually something we are directly involved in. And we have to kind of make those choices, because we don't have somebody who is dedicated to this, so that it's, you know, there's just a balancing that's going on. That's all. But you know, you're right. And it's good to get feedback from people about what the possibilities are. And maybe there is room for a more active use of it.
Carter, and then we probably should wrap up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, fortunately, we did get the word out tonight, and it went out during this meeting, and it went out on CB2's eBlast, which has been our channel of communication for years. Ivy, the sign up for our email blast is right on the CB2 website at the top right. And, you know, these things are happening. And I just looked on Instagram and Twitter, and every single participant in the West Side Fest has put it out on all their social media channels. So, you know, we can rest assured that everything we've talked about is happening. And, you know, it's there. I mean, it's not like it's a mystery. Everything has been there. And just as far as the NYU space, it's unfortunate because it sounds like people are not applying for it. You know, CB2 was involved in this quite extensively, as Ivy pointed out. last year. It was promoted. We've had, a full meeting on it. And it's just unfortunate that people aren't applying for the space. I don't know if that's because its pricing is off to our truly small nonprofits who might benefit, or for whatever reason it's not attractive. That might be a better question to find out, or to hear why people are not looking at that space right now. Particularly, some of the smaller nonprofits that service our community directly, because that's a great
No.
space to connect.
No. That's because of the size requirements. It has to be so specifically weather resistant, and then size specific as well. So it's just a problem of art for the space.
Well, it's a matter of reposting, it's like we talked about, there's a lot of information. I mean, we were in these meetings for, I don't know, for part of last year. I even out of mind, but yeah, I have like 10 people that have nonprofit organizations, but that would love to, now that's more concrete, they would love to apply and know what it is, So it's a matter of reposting, having that conversation, and not dwelling of how much we're investing. It's just, I'll just say, hey, this is still on.
It's
Let
great.
it go.
But guys, it has been sent out. It's a 750 square foot space that has a fairly broad use. It's community services or office space. It's not installation space. It's it's service space.
No, so it's not for us to problem solve why it didn't get, but I'm sure it's the more you put it out, the more people are picking it up. I think a lot of people are coming back now.
Ivy, I gotta stop you on that one, because if you don't know why people are not interested, you're just targeting you're just scattershot. It's a broad request, instead of maybe figuring out what the problem are to some extent, and then we can target groups that could actually use it.
Okay.
I mean, it's great to have just information, but what happens is that all this information out there becomes white noise, because there's just so much out there. The point is, I mean, that's why people pay so much money for targeted, information on particular groups, because it's not just everybody. Not to say that it is our responsibility to definitively figure that out, but some of that insight, groups that might have considered it and turned it down, sharing that information with us could really help us find the right tenant.
But that social media does that targeting automatically for you too, once you post it.
I don't know what they're targeting, in the sense of, yes, you're relying on them to target for you instead of you doing also the targeting.
Let's all just meet in the middle and say that
Yeah.
we all understand that it's not going to change right now, but we are excited about something, whether it's a solution or potential new solutions for social media. We're all on the same page. We all understand. We have all heard each other. It's okay. We can move forward.
Yeah. So for the Paulson thing, everybody get your 5 friends that is nonprofit and remind them that this is on. In the meantime.
Exactly. Something, if we can start the process tonight from, yes, you tell some people and I'll tell some people, and we get a broader word out there. And by all means, anybody who has questions, if they, like I said, if you want to see the space, let us know. We will get you in to actually see the space. If you want some details that we don't have, I will make it our business to get you that information, because that might make the difference on how seriously an applicant would be in terms of pursuing it to the, to actually signing on the document.
We'll help you have a meeting with NYU, which we love.
Carter, just one question quickly. So this is not an installation space. It looks like it's, from what you just sent in the chat, it looks like it's more for collaboration or offices. So the idea of sort of having making it an installation space for a satellite organization is not going to work.
That's not the primary consideration. That's why I posted it.
Thank you.
Posted that requirements, and it has it in the further link. But that's why these are really the small groups that really target, a thought. But I have no idea. It's like any of the local organizations that are very small that might visit seniors would be really great fit here,
Okay.
right? Targeting with the NYU students, a lot of mental health stuff, you know, that is really the smaller organizations that it's not necessarily arts.
Okay.
And that's why I posted that. And a lot of these organizations, the price point may not be right because they may have other space where they're not paying, or it may even be beyond their means with their servicing, or they may not have dedicated funds. I mean, it's a lot more challenging for the smaller nonprofits to get to that point sometimes. But I'd be curious if they've been getting any applications, and if so, from whom. And you know, the getting the word out, it's people are disseminating it, it's just not showing interest, and that's, I just don't understand that. And I'd like to know more about that. But you know, it's doesn't help to not put forward what the priority considerations are for that space, and it's right
Sure.
there, and it doesn't include, I think, what a lot of people might think it includes.
Yeah, I wasn't around for the discussions about that, so I didn't realize that. Thank
It
you.
also changed over time. So it wasn't like one conversation. It was like over time, very thick. So, you know, for the group, please look at the calendar, email me what works, because we kind of like, you know, need to get back into a more organized format for our to be in the calendar. All right. Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll see you Saturday all over the west side. I know the one in the AIDS Memorial is going to be great as well. Thank you for the guests that are in the room over there, Sierra and Rachel.
It was nice to meet all of you.
Bye. Ciao. Good night. Thank you. Thank you, Susan, for coming. Thank you.
My
Carmen.
pleasure. I hope I clarified things. Anybody
lot.
has questions on any of this or wants to continue a discussion, look, reach out to me. Let's talk about things. You know, a lot of things we work on things offline so that we can bring it back into a meeting and then share it with the group.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.